Thanks, Jim. It's an honor to talk to you guys. Honestly, when Jim asked me to present, I kind of thought, like, why? Like, why me? What do I have? I'm not a biologist, not a herpetologist, just a hobbyist that maybe I've taken it too far. I'm not sure. But yeah, most of my time has been in Indiana. 7 years ago, January of 2020, I did Mike Pingleton's trip to Peru. And if you ever have a chance to do that, it is probably a little bit more of an expensive trip compared to most of them that I take. But it's a great introduction into doing something internationally. One of the best things about it is you show up at the airport, they pick you up, they take you to the hotel, they do all the transportation, they take you to the field sites, you just go out and don't get lost in the forest. But that was actually my second international trip because I had gone to Costa Rica. But on that trip to Peru, it was a life-changing trip for me because of the people that I met. I went there knowing one person. I had met Mike before, but I didn't know him all that well. But I came out of that trip with brothers and a sister. And a lot of those people that I met are the ones that do this world travel. And thankfully, for whatever reason, they decided to start including me in their group. And really, I've only been traveling since then for about 7 years. Like Jim said, I've got records in 26 countries. Of course, one's the US. My HerpMapper stuff is not up to date. I got one more to add this year. I went to the country of Georgia. Had a lot of fun there. Hopefully I'll add 2 more at the end of the year. I'm going to go to Laos, and Singapore will be new to me, and also the Komodo Islands, which I've done before. But so how can I do this? Really, honestly, my friends call me Johnny Suerte. Suerte is the Spanish word for luck. I'm a lucky guy. Things have just worked out great in my life. I'm self-employed. I have great employees that can watch the office while I'm gone. I'm not wealthy. I live pretty, drive a okay car, live in a kind of smaller house. Don't spend a lot of money on things except for the travel. But most of the travel is, a lot of it will involve a flight. Can't really discount that a whole lot. But we're sharing hotel rooms, we're camping, we're sharing rental cars. So I get away with a lot of it actually pretty inexpensive. I've been to 21 of the 31 states of Mexico, so I spent a lot of time there. I'm married to a Mexican woman. I'm trying to get her to the US, but that's a very difficult process right now. But I met her on a herp trip at a restaurant. So I guess when Jim asked me to do a presentation and I think back, I have a lot of stories I could tell. I also, as Jim mentioned, I've done a lot of stuff in Indiana. I've worked with the DNR on projects. Really, this is your guys' meeting. I'm here for anything you want to talk about. I picked China just because I don't think a whole lot of Americans get to go there. I saw some pretty iconic things. I don't know if that's ever in your plans to go, but I've got routes for you to do it if you want to do it. Again, the biggest expense is flight. Food, hotels, travel there is fairly inexpensive. But as a young man that's into herps, put that on your goals of the future, and it is attainable. So, trying to think of anything else before I actually get into China. A couple things with travel is, the first thing I have up there is visa. Pretty important that you find out what you need to get for a country to let you into their country, because you can be denied. You can fly there and they can say, nah, that's all right, we don't want you to come in. I've never had that happen. I've had a couple things. In Israel, I went to Israel. I didn't have to have a visa, but it's almost like a permission slip that you sign up for on the way there. Their permission slip asks for my first name and my last name. My passport has my first name, middle name, and last name. So I went up and showed him my slip and my passport, and he says, can't let you in, sorry. And I'm like, what? He's like, this is a different name. And I said, uh-oh. So I was having problems getting internet on my phone. He said, you need to resubmit the form with the right name. Well, when I did that before, it took 24 hours to get it. So I'm like, great, what am I going to do? I figured out the internet. I submitted the form. I think he made a call for them to expect the form. And so as soon as I submitted, it came back, and then I got in. So again, I'm supposed to talk about China, but Israel brings up an interesting point. So I got into Israel, and then getting out was tough. I went in June of last year, and everything was great. It was a wonderful trip, incredible snakes. You know, a mole viper, which is like a stiletto snake, but it's this big. Had a great time until the missiles started flying. So yeah, when you travel, sometimes you have to make plans on the run, and so we got stuck there. All airspace was closed. I've got some great videos of missiles flying right over. One night we did get awakened. The alarms go, which means get to the bomb shelter, and they were close enough that I could feel the compressions in my chest. But in any event, we ended up basically escaping through Egypt. Egypt is now my least favorite country in the world. When I went through customs at Egypt, first we had to pay several bribes for visas to get in and out. They were very much taking advantage of the situation. I put my camera bag through the x-ray, and they yelled, "Camera, camera, camera." So they made me open it, and they said, "You can't have that. You can't have your telephoto lens." And I said, "Look, I'm just trying to get out of here. Just trying to get home. You know, can you let me go?" They took me to the police station. They pulled out my 100-400 lens, and they pulled out my macro lens. They called somebody that spoke English, and he said, "They're not going to let you in with those lenses." And so my choice is to go back to Israel and wait for who knows how long, or give up my lenses. So I lost $4,500 of lenses that day. But anyway, got home safe. My family was not happy with me, but all ended up good. Had a great trip of seeing snakes anyway. So anyway, on to China. Again, you need to figure out what the requirements are. You can go online, you can find out, do you need a visa? A lot of countries will just accept a US passport. China, our relations are tense. It's a little bit more of a process, a little bit longer of an application. So the whole trip to China was based on, we have a friend, an American friend that lives there. Kevin Messenger is a professor of herpetology at Nanjing University. So he was kind of our contact, and he put us in contact with a company that helps you get your visa approved. So you fill out the whole visa, you send it to this company, and they review it. And they say, here's a red flag, or here's something you should change. It might get you denied. One of the things I put on there, it asked countries you had visited, and I put Turks and Caicos. And they said, China's not going to like that you went to Turkey. I'm like, I didn't go to Turkey. I went to Turks and Caicos. But I just took it out, made other minor changes. Then you send it, you electronically send the application. I had to physically send my passport into this company. They take it to the Chinese consulate and hopefully get it approved. And obviously I did get it approved. I felt very lucky. I got the best visa I could get for China. It's good for 10 years, and I can stay for 90 days. So somehow we didn't expect to get it that good. The interesting thing with China is that they took my passport and actually plastered the visa in my passport. So far it hasn't caused me any problems. There could be some place that I might want to go, and they're like, why are you from China? What did you do in China? And things like that. When I went to Israel, they don't stamp your passport. They just give you a piece of paper to carry with you in case something happens that shows you have permission to be in the country. But they don't stamp your passport, because if I go to other countries, they may say I visited Israel, and a lot of countries don't like Israel. So, again, different countries do it different ways. But I mean, I can pass this around, and you can see how they made the visa part of my passport. Had to get a new passport last year. a good problem to have. I filled all my pages, so I got the bigger passport. But anyway, that's the visa process. Then I'm like, well, I got approved. What if my friend that's going doesn't? But we both did get the great visas that we got. Travel days are a nightmare. It's just the price you pay to travel around the world. What's the longest flight any of you have ever had?
16.
How many?
16.
All right.
17 and a half.
Yeah, 17. Flying from Chicago to Taiwan was my longest, and then Taiwan to Bali was an extra 5 on top of it. But I mean, sitting in a plane for 17 hours is about as uncomfortable as it can get. But if you want to see different parts of the world, again, that's part of the price you pay. If you do make a long trip like that, I strongly recommend that you go a day early. Jet lag is a real thing. When you leave at night and travel through the whole night or arrive at night, it's kind of weird. But again, give yourself plenty of rest. I mean, sometimes we'll even schedule a massage to try to get the kinks out of your body from being stuck on that plane so long. The other reason I have travel up there is travel is difficult in China. A lot of differences in China. There were a lot of things I really liked about China, and there were some things that were kind of not as good. Very clean country, very clean cities. They really, they take care to keep things clean. Their rules are a bit more strict than ours. I didn't see a single homeless person. We asked, well, where's all the homeless people? And the response was, well, if you break the law here, you go to jail. If you got a mental illness and break the law, you go to jail. If you just are on hard times, they don't have homeless people there, they put people in jail. So whether you think that's good or bad, I don't know, but the cities were clean. It's just, again, if you've got somebody with a mental illness, kind of sad that that's a situation. There's no drug problem there, at least none that we could see. If you're caught dealing drugs in China, it's a death penalty. So they keep the drugs out. But very clean. Most of the people were nice. Ran into a couple little situations. Otherwise, very, very nice. The food was amazing. Back to the travel, they don't accept our driver's licenses. So we can't rent cars in China. So you have to have a contact there for your transportation. Luckily, we had Kevin, and Kevin married a Chinese woman. She speaks Mandarin. She set up all of our driving, all of our speed trains, all of our hotels. She helped us with food. She went on the trip with us, basically. But that was extremely helpful. Not being able to drive is kind of a hassle. Purchases in China, same thing, very different. Everything you buy is an app on your phone. In order to get that app on your phone, you have to have a checking account in China. We couldn't buy things. They don't accept our credit cards. So everything we bought, we had to ask Kevin. We go into a gas station convenience store, we need water. We ask Kevin, can you buy us a bottle of water? So he just kept track of everything that we spent, split hotels, split the rental cars at the end. He sent us a bill. I think I was there 19 days. And my bill from Kevin was, I think, $1,300 for 19 days. Travel, hotels, gas, and everything. Not too bad. It wasn't terrible. So herpingchina.com is Kevin's website. I did bring a couple books that Kevin has written. Asian Rat Snakes, very nice book in English and in Chinese. His newest book, he was working on this when we were there. It's a huge book. It's very heavy, but it is amazing. Great photography. You're more than welcome to take a look at this. It's an expensive book, but I think for the type of book it is and hardback and the photography and everything, I think it was still pretty reasonable. But again, yeah, take a look at that. You can go to herpingchina.com. Again, he's got his books, he's got his tours. You can see different tours and things that he's done, things that he's seen. Really, really nice website. And Kevin is the bomb. Kevin's great. So we would be herping at night, get back to the hotel room, and he's going back and he's typing and writing the stuff on his book. So he put a lot of effort into it. It's a map of China. And so we flew into, here's Shanghai, and we flew into Nanjing, which is a couple hours, it'd be west of that, between Anhui and Jingsu. And my Chinese isn't that great, so I'm probably terribly messing those up. I circled Jingji because that was the first place that we herped. Our main goal when we went to Jingji is Kevin had an insight that people were hearing different frog calls. So our main goal was to go there and find these frogs and see if they're different species. So that was the goal of the first stop that we had. So we got there. We would just drive with our windows down in the car, listen for frog calls. If we heard something different, we'd jump out and follow the creek and try to find the frogs. We were doing okay for a minute, and 1 hour in. So before we went, my friend Tim.
Like to use a pointer?
Either way, yeah, that's fine. Oh, thank you for, yeah. So we asked Kevin, have you ever had problems with police or any authorities or anything like that? No, never. We were there an hour, and here's what we got. So I think this is our car right there. We had heard some frogs. We wanted to walk along this creek. There was a nice path along the creek, actually, on that one. And we had pulled off on the side of the road. Well, this road was being used by bamboo trucks. These bamboo trucks are a full-size semi, and hanging behind them is another semi's length of bamboo. So they came around this corner, and they didn't think they could get by our car. So they just sat there and laid on the horn. We went back up and moved the car, but they were really unhappy with us. I think, too, there's a little bit, they didn't like that we were Americans. We stick out pretty much there. But they ended up getting by. They left. We go back down the creek. We come back up, and then the police are waiting for us with the bamboo truck drivers. So they went down to the bottom of the hill, called the police, and they really wanted to get us in trouble. We had a gentleman, I think he's right here, that spoke good Chinese that was with us that night. So he was our contact. And it was really interesting watching because his whole time he bowed down to the police. He gave them the authority. He never argued. He never, he was very obedient to them, I guess. The police said, you need permits for what you're doing. And again, and very gently and everything, he said, no, we're not in a national park. We're not doing anything wrong. And they really couldn't do anything to us, to the chagrin of the truck drivers. But they just said, if you come back, please let us know, and so that we know you're in the area. We didn't do that, but never had any other problems. But yeah, that was an interesting start to the trip. Kevin was there, and he had Daisy on the phone, and Daisy's like yelling and tell him this and this and this. But I think the way we handled it was a little bit better. So this is one of the species, Bolenephrys. Again, I'm not a scientist. I try the scientific names, probably messing that up. Pale-shouldered horn frog. These frogs have like smaller horns on the top. So this was the general species that we were looking for, but a new species of that. So we did find this that night. I think we collected 3 frogs that Kevin kept to do DNA on and see if they are actually a new species. We found them in a little bit different of a habitat, and we thought we heard a different call. I haven't heard a result of that yet. I think, again, his book just did come out a couple months ago, and he was really working on that, so I don't think he's done the work to see if we actually discovered any new species. But that's the kind of frog we were looking for. Really cool frogs. When we were walking down the creek, this was, I think, probably my first herp in China. Chinese grass lizard, beautiful lizard, super long tail. I mean, that thing's probably about like this with the tail. It's hard to see size from the photo, but a really long tail, really pretty lizard. It was seen on that plant that I've got the picture of it on. So again, I just tried to take pictures of a couple different things, maybe some iconic species and things that I've got some stories about. This is a lycodon. If you go to Asia, lycodon is one of the most common species. There's all kinds of them out there. This was supposed to be the red-banded snake. When I go to an area, typically I'll look up on INAT, and I will look to see what's in the area so I can kind of have some targets and things I really want to see in my mind. This one always stuck out because it was red and kind of pretty. It's really was supposed to be one of the more common snakes in the areas we were at. This was the only one we saw the whole trip. So that's just herping for you. Sometimes, you know, you'll go to a place and you'll see 10 of something. The next time you don't see any of that. You're like, where'd they all go? But that's the mystery of herping. But I thought it was a pretty good snake, first snake I saw in China. So it was pretty and nice. Again, we were just pulling over, and when we were walking the side of the road to get to a creek, we found this snake. Piraeus was probably the most common snake that we did see. But it's a slug eater. Whenever you're, again, in Asia, you see a lot of slug eaters. For whatever reason, I think probably because of where they sit on the trees, they're just more identifiable, detectable. You see more of them than some of the other species. Formosensis, Formosa slug snake was this one. I put this picture up because we saw several different species of them, and so I just kind of wanted to show the differences between them. Cool little snakes. They're smaller. This one. So if you notice the picture on Kevin's book, it's this one, the 100-pace viper. So why do they call it a 100-pace viper? Supposedly, if you get bit, that's how many steps you're going to get in. So this one was actually, we were driving on the way back from herping and saw it in the road. Great thing about it is Kevin's been in China. I can't remember for sure. I think more than 6 years. It's the first time he saw this snake. So when you go someplace and the locals get excited, then you're like, oh yeah, we found something really cool. But again, when I'm looking at INAT and I'm looking at snakes I want to see, this one really was one of the top ones that we wanted to see. And to get it on our first night of herping was really kind of special. Really cool snake. Look at that nose.
Pattern is really copperhead-esque.
Yes, yes, very much so. And that's another thing. Some of the slides you'll see, I put things in there because they remind me so much of snakes and frogs that you see here. Wood frogs. I think there are wood frogs all over the world. They call them different things, but man, they just look identical in some of these other countries. But this was a really cool one. We stayed in that area. So the first night we were up in this area, and then we just kind of moved over into here. A little bit different habitat. It wasn't as much for the frogs. The frogs were on hillside streams, really clean water and things like that. It was similar, but a little bit different. Some of the same species in this area. But it was also where I got to see my first Chinese green tree viper. Even if something's common in an area, you know, again, I knew this was a super common snake, and I was really confident we'd see some of these. But what an awesome snake. These guys hang out in the trees. On this particular area, the herping we did in a lot of China is we would do road cruising, and we would also just walk the roads. So usually we'd have a couple people walk the road and a couple people driving back and forth. When you walk the roads in China, a lot of the roads have concrete, we call them ditches, but they were concrete like drainage areas, and the snakes would get in there and kind of get stuck until they could get a way to get out. So we're looking through these ditches to try to find the snakes. But these guys, I don't think I ever found one in a ditch, but walking the road you're shining, and they just glow in the trees. A lot of the jungle herping is you're shining into the trees and the bushes, and a green snake like this is really going to shine. So we probably saw, I think 3 or 4 of those that second night of herping that we had. But I don't know, I love the Trimeresurus, they're just really, really cool. And so many of them through there. Not my best picture. It was raining. I was kind of in a hurry. I was getting wet. Chinese habu. Again, my friend Tim is very into the venomous, so his top targets were venomous. So we kind of concentrated on places we could find the venomous. I just saw this guy in the road. And again, it was raining. We just kind of took him to the side in the ditch and got some quick pictures and let him go on his way. The only thing that we collected on this trip were some of those frogs. I'm not a collector. The only time I've really ever kept anything is if we were there specifically to find things for speciation and try to determine if it's a new species or something like that. The first thing we ever kept on a trip, we were in Veracruz, Mexico, and I found a worm salamander, which is a salamander. It just got a super long, it's not like this, it's got a super long tail and just a really neat salamander. And we were with a guy, there's a herpetologist in the area. He's like, I don't think they've ever been found here. And we really debated between our group. He wanted to take it, which means it's going to be in a museum. They're going to kill it. And it was really hard for us to make that decision. You know, we don't go out trying to find animals to do that. We go out, we want to get some pictures, we release the animals. But that salamander, we decided that it's a scientific thing. It was not a new species, but it was definitely a range extension for them. So, just walking on a hillside, there's one rock like this, I flip it, and there's that salamander. Okay, this was a cool snake. Very smelly, but they are very water dependent, and I know it's hard to see, but the first picture, it's actually in the water. So this was in the ditch, the concrete ditch, and over time there were some rocks in this area. Sometimes they're just pure concrete, sometimes stuff falls into them. But he was just swimming along. It was raining, it was wet, and he's just swimming along kind of in the current in that thing. We got him out and took some pictures. But again, when you go into the Asia area, you see a lot of keelbacks. A lot of different species of keelback. I like them. I think they're really cool. And some of them just don't even look alike. I don't, how is this a keelback versus some of the others that I see, but I don't make those rules. Taxonomy is, I still don't know what kind of fox snake I have in Northwest Indiana now. It's changed several times. This guy, again, just, it was raining, so we saw some amphibians on the road. This guy is cool, and I wish we could have seen it. Again, my picture's a little dark there. Apologize for that. This guy, a common name for him is a mustache frog. So I should have taken a picture out of just Google or something and put what the mustache frog means. But in the breeding season for this frog, they develop spines, black spines on the front top lip. And it looks really cool. It's like a crown of spines. I have no idea what it's for. So we obviously weren't in the breeding season, but it's just a kind of an iconic frog if you've ever seen that frog before. Again, I wish I would have put it in there. But another pretty common snake were the boiga, the cat snakes. We saw quite a few of these, usually arboreal. Sometimes you'd see them crossing a road or something like that. This one was just a little bit bigger one, a little bit prettier one, so I included that picture in there. This one kind of makes me chuckle a little bit. Again, I studied the area. I saw what kind of snakes were there. I knew this one was called big tooth snake. So we're driving down the road, and I see this snake going across the road. Knew what it was right away. I hop out, and I'm kind of like just keeping it from getting off the side of the road, and kind of hesitating a little bit. And Kevin's like, grab it, just grab it. And I'm like, how big are the teeth? So I was hesitant. Thankfully, I never got bit. I did end up grabbing the snake. Very pretty. We saw a few of these. And again, I don't know. Different snakes mean different things to different people, but that yellow and that black is just really stunning. It was, I don't know that my picture really does it justice. But yeah, I was kind of a little afraid of the big tooth snake.
It's similar to a mandarin rat snake.
Yeah, we'll see one of those in a minute. Yeah. So this is another 100-pace viper. This one, again, we were, me and a couple other guys were walking the side of the road, just walking the ditch. And so, you know, do you guys ever road cruise? You know, so you're road cruising down a road and you look down a side road and you're always hoping that when you're looking over there, you're going to see a snake. It's probably happened twice to me. But just driving down, you look and you see that snake, you go over and get that snake. Well, this one I was walking, but we're walking down this road and there was another little path along in a little bridge over a stream, and I look over and it's like, whoa. Just to see this thing splayed out on the road was amazing. So it's a second one of them, but we only saw 2 on the trip. So they're not an easy snake to find, certainly not guaranteed if you go out there. But just, I love those snakes. Those things are just so cool. For my amphibian lovers, I try to keep, you know, did a little bit of everything. This is called a newt. To me, it looks a lot more like a salamander than a newt, a typical newt. We found a nice stream and it had some big open areas with like a little bit of a waterfall in it, super clear water. And we saw a couple of these guys. And I don't know, if I had to say, I probably like snakes the most. I'm probably more of a reptile guy, but I love the amphibians too. And I've done a lot of trips just for salamanders. So I thought it was a cool salamander for sure. We'd get back at night. Kevin's typing in his book till late hours. My friend Tim's not really a morning person. My friend from Indiana, Ben Genter, was interning for Kevin while we were there, so he went on the trip with us as well. And Ben and I are like, we want to herp, herp, herp. And Ben is probably the most, you know, he's like aggressive herper, I would guess. He's out as much as he can possibly be. So we would get up in the mornings, and even though he's not supposed to, Ben would take the car and we'd drive around. In China, I had my picture, I would guess, taken 10,000 times. There are cameras everywhere. They know everywhere you go. They're taking pictures of your car, your face. You know, we're complaining about some small cameras here now. Like there's a bank of like 20 cameras across the road. In a city, almost every other intersection. In a town of 5 houses, there's cameras over the road. So we'd go by cameras and he'd hide his face. But so we went out one morning and this thing just shoots across the road. It was already pretty warm. So we, you know, slam on the brakes, get out. There was a kind of a brush pile, and we're just looking around. I'm like, that snake's gone. And pretty soon you just see a flash, and then I see Ben just full out dive and lay out, and he got this snake. So a really pretty rat snake, probably 4 to 5 feet in length, and a big-eyed rat. Tyus is, again, rat snakes in Asia. Tyus is very, there's a lot of different Tyus.
When they're babies, they have giant blue eyes.
Yeah, kind of like a racer. Again, just kind of making comparisons between what we see here and what you see in different parts of the world. They have narrow-mouthed frogs as well. This guy was a little bit bigger than what I would say our narrow-mouthed frogs are, but not a lot. Again, it's a common name. Microhyla is, again, just a big, there's a lot of different microhyla in Asia, but just kind of a cool little frog. This was actually a different area, a little bit different habitat. It was a little bit more like a wetland. And same thing, we drop a couple people off to walk and a couple people to drive. And one of the cars that was driving found this kukri snake. I wasn't with them when they found it. Kukri snake is another thing you'll hear, just a common name of snakes in Asia. I just thought this one was kind of spectacular. Really pretty snake. Kukri snakes, I forget exactly what their diet is, but they've got pretty big teeth and they will slice you open. So it is a snake that they're not venomous, but yeah, they'll cut you up. This was our main target in that area, the mamushi. So we were driving, went around a corner, and there he was sitting in the road. Just again, a very beautiful snake. We were really trying to hit the venomous, and I think we hit every venomous target that we had. So just an amazing trip. Yeah, that guy was just sitting in the road. This is another keelback, and this is one I really wanted to see. I had seen babies. I saw a baby in Vietnam, but this was the first adult I had seen, and again, just a spectacular snake. And you guys know what the strange thing is about the tiger keelbacks? Go ahead and tell them. They're poisonous and venomous. So when you mess around with this snake too much, I mean, obviously the red means something, right? It's kind of a warning. You can actually see, not on my picture, but if they get irritated, just sometimes like a toad, you'll see the little white specks. Same thing on this guy. So poison means you can get it through your skin, and of course the venom means it's injected. This guy can do both. They're rear-fanged, so they're going to probably kind of have to chew on you. But I do believe there's been some pretty bad bites from these guys. So I was very careful. I don't like getting bit any more than anybody else. Here's one that I put in the slides because it's a smooth green snake. Again, just the difference, I would say, I've got smooth green snakes in Northwest Indiana. They're so diminutive, they're small. These guys get much bigger than that. But man, we got this thing and I'm like, wow, it's just almost identical to what you'd see in a smooth green snake in Northwest Indiana. Another Tyus.
How large were they?
This one was probably only a couple feet, but I think they can get much bigger than that, being a Tyus. The cobra. So again, I was road cruising. It was me and Ben, and every once in a while we'd meet another Chinese herper, and it gave us another car, so we'd have two cars. And so our Chinese friend on this night, he's like, I really want to try this road. I thought we were kind of in the mountains, but when I looked at the elevation that we found the snake, it was not high at all, but it was a windy road. I guess it'd be hills and not mountains. And again, I don't know, like, if you guys road cruise a lot, but when you see a big snake in the road, it's like a log. And we made this turn, and this thing was just along in the road. This was a big snake. Lengthwise, probably 5 feet, but it was big. And that Chinese guy screamed like a girl. And we got out. They didn't grab hooks. They were so, and my friend Ben runs and he grabs it by the tail, and that snake's turning around. And so we ended up getting a hook out, and we were typically more safe than that. I don't take chances. I love this hobby. I like my fingers and my arms and my life. But this guy he was amazing. Really, really loved this. And then we got lucky enough. That first one was an adult. This one's a juvenile. So it wasn't that much longer before we found a juvenile as well. And to give you a little bit of size perspective, this is that guy. And just look at the girth on that. And that's a Midwest Tongs hook. That thing was bending, holding that snake. I had shoulder surgery, tore my rotator cuff off when I was snowboarding. And so my left shoulder is kind of hurting. It was all I could do to hold that tail of the snake and then the hook there. But just Chinese cobra, just an amazing snake. When we go on these trips, you're trying to see as many species as you can. And we had already seen a couple of these, but our reason for stopping here is right outside of town, there's like this concrete, I don't know if it was a memorial or what, but it had water in it. And Ben had told me he had seen newts in there. So we went there to try to find the newt. And just sitting on the edge was this whipping frog. I kind of looked at it as, we call them flying frogs in India. It's a big, a nice big, like almost bullfrog-sized frog. And I just like this picture because it's one of the better pictures I had. I like the little white dots on it, the big old toe pads and fingers. Just a frog that I really like seeing. And then again, not my best picture ever, but this was the newt. And again, this is like right in town, just a human water source, and the animals are living in there. So there was some leaf litter in there, just moved it around a little bit, and we were lucky to find the newt in there. Twice we needed to travel somewhat of a distance, so we did the speed trains. So I just thought it'd be neat for you to see a speed train. It works very much like an airport, but a little bit less security, and you just carry all your bags on the train, put them in behind the seats. And I was trying to keep track of the speed. I think the fastest we got was 205 kilometers an hour. So they move, but being a train, you're getting a lot of stops. But it was nice, and I think it was a little less time consuming than boarding a plane and waiting for luggage and all those kind of things. So it was a neat way to get around. First time I've ever been on any kind of a speed train at all. So we took that, we left Zhejiang, and then we went down to Guizhou. And Guizhou is actually an area that's had a lot of INAT records. I get really excited when there's not a lot of INAT records. But I think Guizhou's been herped quite a bit. And you'll see after that we went to Yunnan, which maybe doesn't have quite as many records there. But Guizhou is very nice. A lot of different species there, including your mandarin rat snake. So again, kind of an iconic species, and you can see why. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful snake. I think you probably see them in the pet trade quite a bit. It's funny because I was walking one side of the road, my friend Tim's walking the other side, and my side was kind of like a cliff, and he's like, well, come over here. So I get in front of him, and then I see some common tree frog, and I'm sitting there taking pictures of it, and he's like, oh, look at this. And like 10 feet in front of me is the mandarin rat snake. But when I go on these trips, we look at everything as a team. To me, it doesn't matter that I find it. I'm just as happy if somebody else actually sees the snake. Of course, I want to see the snake too. But we're definitely, our group is so good. We're not in competition with each other. We're trying to find as much as we can so everybody can see it. And that's something that I would say is, I was holding the cobra. My general rule is that I don't typically touch anything venomous. The only time I really do is, a lot of times we'll break up trying to find something. And, I think of when we were in Puebla, Mexico, and people really wanted to see the Melosis, the Oaxacan black-tailed rattlesnake. And I found a beautiful, beautiful one, and it was a big snake. And when you're by yourself trying to put, a 5-foot rattlesnake into a pillowcase, it's a little harrowing. But I figured it out, but because I feel that little extra pressure, everybody wants to see this snake. So, at that time, I'll kind of break my rule, but I'm always using a hook. I'm never trying to put myself in danger. Some of the places that we go, you get bit and you're probably not leaving. Fortunately, this wasn't one of those places, but still, I want to cry if I get stung by a bee. So I can't even imagine, But anyway, this is, again, kind of one of the iconic species, and I was really, really happy to see it. Another Bolonephrys, just a different species of them. Again, they're kind of cool frogs. Even though the first place was where we were really concentrating on finding a new species, we still looked for them everywhere and still listened to see if we could find different calls. A different Trimeresurus. Again, we had traveled a distance, and you travel a distance, you're probably going to get a new Trimeresurus. Again, the Chinese, the first one that I showed you had white and red stripe along it, and this one doesn't have that. I love those eyes. Again, just a beautiful snake. Typically, they've got that kind of reddish tail, and You could see, obviously, arboreal snakes go on the ground sometimes to get to different places, but you're almost always going to see these guys in a tree or a bush. And this guy. This was my top target on the trip. You see the picture in INET and you're just like, whoa. You know, that white head, are you kidding me? So when the first night we met with Kevin and I'm like, are we going to see phase vipers? And he's like, probably not. Those are more of a fall species. And we were there in July. We found 7 of them. So we found all different phases. We found this white head. We found with a black head. We found one with more of an orange head. But just an amazing snake. They concentrate on eating shrews. That's their diet, is shrews. They are venomous. I don't think, again, I'm not going to test it, but I don't think that they're super dangerous to people, but I think it would probably make for a really bad day. But again, I just was super happy. This one was found crossing a road. Yeah, I think that bright orange and then the head, and just a great snake.
You had mentioned that. I thought it would have been a glare on the head, but yeah, that really makes it.
Yeah, no, it's a white head. What's the purpose for that? I have no idea. You know, just like that 100-pace viper, what's the purpose for the long nose? Is it digging? Is it? Again, just another newt that we found in that area. Bungaris multicinctus. This was a mini-banded crate. So the mini-banded crate is very, very dangerous snake. They're not known to be super aggressive, but you do not want to get bit by one. And that's why I brought this book. And if you guys have never read this, The Snake Charmer, has anybody ever read it? Yeah, outstanding book. This is a book about, he was becoming a very famous herpetologist, and he was in Myanmar. Again, very far from help, very far from people. I don't really want to give the whole book away, but not a very happy ending. So again, this is, if you have interest in snakes and stuff and you think about field herping, there's some lessons to be learned in this book. I think it's a pretty inexpensive book, but again, highly recommend The Snake Charmer. The culprit was the mini-banded crate of 10 inches in length. So this was another area that we went, again, more of a flat wetland area. First snake we saw in this area, we got another cobra. I didn't want to bore you with too many cobra pictures, but that was right at dusk. And then once it was dark, we all started walking the road. And again, this was the number one target there. Not a lot of people have seen it. I just don't think that area itself is a super herped area. Again, we would walk the ditches. Walking by myself, I went probably a mile, maybe a little bit more. And we had already walked it once, but a car drove me back. I walked it again, and I think I saw 9 of these. So super cool snakes. This was one of the prettier ones. Some of them were a little bit more bland and stuff. This one, I like how the pattern shined a little bit with those little yellow highlights on it. It is a viper, so you don't want to get bit by it, but cool snake. I like my geckos. In Mexico, I call it Coleonyx, or Arizona. It looks just a different variation of Coleonyx to me. They're the same, the banded geckos in Arizona or Mexico. It's just that similarity. China, however many hours of flight away, and you still find stuff that looks almost identical. A little bit different, but pretty cool. This was something else I wanted to see. Again, being a little bit of a salamander nerd, the crocodile newts. Big, hefty, they look like really muscular. This one, the pure black, the Moelon one, is not easily found. So we were really happy to see this one. You know, I think this one was late on the second night that we were herping there, and this one showed up. So really cool, almost prehistoric looking newt. Here's a red-headed phase viper. Again, I could never see too many of those things. But I like the difference on the head on this one versus the other one. Again, it was a little bit of a misty, rainy night, and my friend and I, this was a ditch that we could actually walk in. And this guy, this snake was a little bit smaller, and he was right at the edge of the road. And it was a busy road, so I don't know, did we save him? Maybe. Another Piraeus. The first one was Formosus. This is just a different species of them. And then again, a different crocodile newt. So these red ones were pretty cool too. A lot more common. We saw quite a few of them. Went out day herping one time and found a pond and found 2 of them in the daylight in the pond. We went back at night and they were all over the place, you know, just several of them. But again, nice reddish orange. And they're pretty big. I mean, it's bulkier and probably the same length, if not a little bit bigger than a tiger salamander, a full-grown tiger salamander. Another venomous snake that was high on the target list. Most of our herping, at least our good herping, was at night, but we had a location that we could go and flip rocks for these guys during the day. Day herping was not near as productive, but we were able to find this guy. We probably searched for an hour and a half, and one of the guys saw it. So we got this guy, and we got the false cobra at the same location. But again, super pretty snake. They're variable. Kevin Messenger just posted one that they found on Facebook, and it had a lot of red speckling in it. Still the green and kind of black, but with red in it. So really cool snakes. This is the big-eyed bamboo snake. Another common name for them is false cobra because they will hood. They don't hood as big as what a actual cobra does. But again, variable. They're different colors, different appearances. But another snake, anything that has to do with cobra, I really like the cobra. So even if it's a false cobra, I was excited for it. Another Chinese green viper. And actually, we found this in a kind of weird location for them. And they said, you know, they being Kevin and the other Chinese guys said this stripe is much different. And they said the appearance was different. They think this is an undescribed species. So Kevin was going to put some work into it and do some things with it. I don't think we kept the snake though. He ended up finding out that somebody else was already working on that. So we think it's probably not the Chinese green tree viper, probably a different species. But anytime you can find something you think is a new species, it's really exciting. That's like our main goal when we go on these trips. This was a snake Ben found late at night one night. Again, another keelback, and I just thought it was a beautiful snake, so I included it. I forget Zhang. I don't know what the scientific name is. This is the same kind of frog as the other one that I showed, the green one next to the newt. Much more diminutive, much smaller. Even though it was an adult, it was a calling male that I found. We actually searched and triangulated until we could find it. So it's much smaller and everything, but still in the same species. This was the actual, when I said we saw all the newts in the pond at night, this was the pond. So it's a super active pond full of newts, and you can see the tadpoles and basically a leopard frog. It's not really a leopard frog, but pretty darn close. As I had mentioned, the last place we went down to Yunnan. So super excited to get there. This was my favorite of the Piraeus, the slug eaters. Niger, meaning black. So they just had a whole lot more black. And apologize for the glare of the photo, but of all of them, these were the beautiful ones and the ones that I really wanted to see. But again, I put this in there because I just wanted to show the differences of the different snail eaters. This is another one that I consider kind of an iconic snake. I like the scientific name, Oreocryptosis. Again, something that you would probably see in the pet trade. Beautiful, beautiful snakes. I don't think my picture really does it justice. We saw two of them, and this probably within 50 meters, not at the same time, different time of night, but within 50 meters of each other. They were crossing the same patch of road, basically.
I have two of these, but not the whole front, the last.
Okay, yeah. This is the second one that we got. So, I mean, they look a little, this one was a little bit more pale, this one was a little bit more vivid. Really cool snakes. Beautiful snakes. This is another Lycodon. And again, going back to the snake charmer, yeah, I'm ruining the book, but basically they were out doing herp surveys and somebody bagged a couple snakes, and they handed it to Joe, the herpetologist, and said, hey, here's a Lycodon. He reached in the bag, and it wasn't a Lycodon. So this one doesn't look a whole lot like that crate, but man, they can. Even I found one, this one has a little bit different pattern with these kind of like circles on it. They're usually just lines, and I saw one in a ditch, and I just stared at it for a while like, is that a little crate? Because again, I kind of like living, but yeah, you got to be sometimes careful. And again, before I go on a trip, I'm looking, okay, what's here that's venomous? You know, do they look different? And the crates are something that are a little bit scary because there are some really good mimics of crates out there. This guy, I think it might have been our last venomous target. Ovophis. There's a lot of different Ovophis throughout China. I know they find some along the Great Wall and all throughout China. But the story on this one is they dropped me off at the top of the hill, you know, pitch black. I'm just walking there by myself, shining, looking in the trees, looking in the ditch, and I come across two young guys on motorcycles. And I just kind of walked by, said hi, and they're just like, yeah, whatever. And I got 50 meters past them around a corner so they didn't see me, and here's this snake sitting in the ditch. And I'm like, this is our target, this is awesome, I found our target. And then the lights come, they're starting to come down the road, and I'm like, I don't want to grab the snake and bag it right in front of them. So I'm just like, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Well, they stop and start talking to me, and they knew kind of broken English. And a couple times in China, I got, who are you? What are you doing here? Why are you here? Sometimes not in the nicest way. I think a lot of times, Kevin said he's been accused of being a spy. And that's the first thing they think. You're an American, you're here to spy on us. But in any event, they ended up being very nice. And they were basically saying, where are you going? And I said, well, I'm just going down the road, and then I go left, I go to the hotel. And they said, do you want a ride? They were going to give me a ride on the back of the motorcycle. I'm like, no, I'm okay. And then they went off, and then I got to bag the snake. So again, a pretty cool snake. Taiwan mountain pit viper, so you can find them in Taiwan, and you can also find them in southern China. Very variable snake. Another Trimeresurus, Unionensis. Again, sometimes they get hard to tell the difference for me, but one of my favorites. I was walking the road with Tim. It was a light rain, and he spotted this thing, 30 meters into the woods in a tree on a hill. but they shine that much in your light. It's just, it's really cool. This guy, we were talking to Kevin a lot of the trip and saying, was there any chance we'll see a glass lizard? He said, no, they're impossible to find. He's never seen one. He doesn't know anybody that's seen one. Well, on one of the mornings that Ben and I got up, we walked, we had done this hill several times, but him and I were walking it that morning, and I love flipping stuff. If there's a rock, I want to flip it. If there's a board, I want to flip it. And there was a board on the side of the road, and this guy was under it. So not an easy thing to find. Same thing though. I mean, have you guys seen these in Indiana?
I bought one, but
Oh, you bought one, okay. Man, they look so similar. I mean, just honestly, to me, it looks like a one from Florida, like an island glass lizard from Florida. But again, just really hard to tell the difference. But we were excited. Kevin had never seen one, and we got one, so.
I've seen alligator lizards, pattern there.
Yeah, a little bit for sure. These guys were cool. Ben and I walking on that road, and we hadn't seen these the whole time. And again, it's herping. All of a sudden, they show up. We found like 3 of them, even though we hadn't seen any of them. This toad, again, I wish I had taken a picture for perspective, about as big as my hand. It's a big toad. And I love the little horns. And yeah, something really neat there. These guys were they're music frogs, super common frog, super variable, a little bit like a wood frog appearance. They have a high kind of pitched sound, and that's why they call them the music frogs. Again, right next to a town, it was kind of an agriculture area, and there was a man-made pond in there, and we just, for whatever reason, we were like, oh, we'll walk around it. And we got these cool tadpoles, see-through tadpoles. And with a little bit of investigation, we figured it belongs to these guys. So this wasn't actually found in the same pond, but we think that that's what the tadpole was. Again, I've never seen a tadpole that looks like that. It's really cool. Don't know why they call them a balloon frog. They probably puff up or something. Again, I'm a flipper. Those guys are all walking the road, and I see a pile of rocks, and I'm flipping. And a lot of times people look at me like, you're an idiot. You're not going to find anything. And then I find something. So this is a mock viper. I think they're rear fanged. They got a little bit of venom, but probably not going to hurt you a whole lot. But I thought it was a pretty one. Flipped under rocks. And we've got the black-headed phase viper, where he's got a lot more black on the head, not so much white or orange. I think we found pretty much all 3 phases of them. They are really, there's supposed to be 2 species of them, but Kevin says he's going to sink it. So I just called them all phase vipers. And then the beauty snake. So this guy, we were just starting the evening. It was still daytime. We were on a pretty busy road, and he jetted across the road, but we were able to get a hold of him and get some pictures. They said they were a super common snake, but man, we only saw the one, but I was really happy for it. Really, really pretty snake. And that's all I have. So I'm going back to China next year. We're going to do a 3-week trip, and this trip was myself and Tim. Ben was already there, and Kevin was doing this as kind of a dry run for his tourism business, and he's done 2 or 3 tours this year. And so next year when we go, we're going to bring more of our friends, and we're going to do it as a 3-week thing, and not everybody can take 3 weeks off, so you get to choose a location that you want to go to. Kevin is trying to arrange for us to look for the mangchengs. This would be an incredible snake. Right now, I say white people aren't allowed there, but we're trying to get permission to be able to go into that forest. So that would be pretty cool. But can you guys think of any questions you have? Anything Indiana or travel or, yeah?
What's the general population think of the reptiles in that? Did you get any idea of that?
For Mangshangs or?
For any reptiles in
So, I mean, I think it's like anywhere that development, 50 years ago, there was probably a lot more. I didn't get specific numbers or anything. China is so big that there is still a lot of forest and there's still a lot of untouched areas. But I'm sure the encroachment, we stayed in a couple cities. One city we stayed in, they said it was 11 million people and they just consider that like an average city there. But a lot of the people in the big cities live in these big high-rise apartments. But don't get me wrong, one of my incorrect thoughts of China was when people talk about socialism in the United States, in my mind it's always about equality and everybody's equal. And I thought I was going to go to China and I think of these Chinese big bad communists, and it's you're smart, you're going to be a doctor and you're going to make $50,000 a year and you're going to like it, and you're dumb and you're going to be a garbage man and make $50,000 a year and you're going to like it. It was not like that at all. There are very, very rich people in China. Kevin says if you come up with a business idea and people want what you're producing, you will make a lot of money in China. So the communism part is that you don't own anything. You really don't own your business, although you do get the benefits of it. You don't own your home. I asked Kevin about the home specifically because it intrigues me, but he said basically you lease your home from the government. You can do a 20-year lease or a 30-year lease, just like you do a 20-year or a 30-year mortgage. When that's up, you're negotiating another lease with the government. So, but anyway, I don't know why I got on that tangent, but a lot of people, and the more people that grow, the more it hurts, reptiles and amphibians. Again, it's such a huge country that they do still have a lot of forested areas and things that aren't really all that touched by humans. So some areas things are doing well. I'm sure they're hurting in other areas. Yeah.
Do people have a similar attitude to snakes, like fear them, kill them?
Yeah.
South Africa is like the minute they saw anything.
Right. So I think in China you get a lot of that, and I do remember asking Kevin that specifically, and he said there is a fear of the snakes. But different, I think that they do look at nature a little bit different. There is maybe a hesitation even from fear. Like we see some people that fear snakes and that means they want to kill it. Well, that's how a lot of people get bit too. And I think maybe they're a little smarter to where they'll just leave it alone. And I don't think that I think they maybe have a little bit more knowledge that it's going to move on. But one of the things in China too is there are gardens everywhere, like whole community gardens, and we would find snakes in them. And I'm sure they run into snakes all the time. I did see one, just like a hydrophis, like a water snake that had been killed, and it looked like a person had killed it. So I'm sure it does happen. So when I went to India, though, they really respect all wildlife, and it's a different thing there. People would call. We went out with some rescue people, like on Cobra calls, but people will call and ask for the snake to be removed. They didn't want to kill it. So India was a lot different in that.
So a couple things. Are they allowed to take a snake hook with them from?
In China, it was never an issue. The police did say, do you have a permit at the one thing? So I don't know if it could have been a problem. We never had another issue. And Kevin was like, yeah, bring your hook.
You also said you found there are herpers there just like there are here, correct?
Yes.
So you run into some every now and then.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
Same thing. And they were very knowledgeable and very helpful.
The language barrier there?
Both of the guys that came and joined us spoke great English. Yeah. And so it was funny, I was walking with one of them down the road. Again, day herping wasn't very productive. And we ran into this old man, and he had, I don't know what, just spread out carrying this big thing of, I don't know if it was a weed or if it was wheat or what it was. And he tried to talk to the guy, and ask him if he sees snakes. And the guy said in the rainy season he would see them. And some places we were in the rainy season, but he said there was more of a rainy season, I guess. But even the guy that I was with said I couldn't hardly understand him because of his dialect. So there's different parts of the country, just like here. If you go to Louisiana, you might have a hard time understanding the guy speaking English. So, yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
Yeah. You said Kevin took a couple frogs as specimens.
Yes.
How difficult is that to do in China? Like, is there like extra regulations on the wildlife you can take?
Yeah, and I didn't get into that. I just assumed with Kevin being a professor and a herpetologist at the university that he had the ability to do that without us getting in trouble. But I'm not 100% sure. I would have had a hard time doing that without him there and being with us, for sure. Yeah.
How much time did you spend like road cruising versus during the day versus during the night?
Yeah.
Do you have a breakdown?
Well, at night, like I said, we would pretty much split it up where if we had 4 of us, 2 would be in the car driving and 2 would be walking the ditches. So at night it would be 50-50. Day herping, we all went to the rocks the one day, but that seemed like a little bit of a different situation when we were looking for that the Jurgen's pit viper, where we all went out in that day. Most of the time Kevin and Tim were sleeping in and Ben and I were going out by ourselves. We would typically road cruise early in the morning before it got hot, but it was not. We got the one big-eyed rat snake.
So during the day, you probably just.
We were relaxing and we were traveling sometimes. Yeah, getting to the next location we wanted to get to. Yeah. Yeah.
In all your travels, though, herps seem to be your primary focus. Any other incidental or accidental fatal mammal sightings or other animals?
When we went to India, we did a safari. We did it for 2 days to see tigers. Got to see, I saw 2 tigers. One of them was cooling itself in a pool of water, and I got excellent photos of it. So that was really cool. On the safari, we saw the tigers, we saw elephants. See you guys. We did see a sun bear, which was kind of cool. We did not see any jaguars. We really want to see I'm sorry, not jaguar, leopard. We did not see a leopard. Never seen a jaguar in Mexico, always hope to. I think one time near Alamos in Sonora, I was driving and I saw it was too large to be a house cat, and that thing just leaped so far in the air and it was pure black. I think it was a jaguarundi, but didn't get any pictures or anything like that. So if we go to an area, it's not unusual for us to, if there's a big cat or something like that, that we wouldn't, even if it's not too far out of the way, we might go and try to find them. I'd say the biggest thing I've seen is a tiger. Yeah. Yeah.
So your next trip, I'm guessing you might try to target the Chinese giant salamander, or is that a difficult one to?
I don't know if that's on the agenda or not. I know the 3 places they're talking about going are the Great Wall. There's a lot of rat snakes, and I think the Oxyrophus, not Oxyrophus, that's a South American snake, Ovophus. So one part is the Great Wall, another part is the Mangshan, and another part is back to Yunnan. And so I don't know if the giant Chinese salamander is on that list or not. I know sometime in the future we all want to go to Japan, and we would look for that would definitely be on the list. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
That's another question. What generally goes into your process for determining what your targets are? And as kind of a follow-up to that, how successful would you say you are with finding your targets when you?
Yeah, so honestly, most of the planning is my friend Tim. And he has contacts all over the world, and he's very good. That's like his passion. I think he likes the planning the trip almost as much as doing the trip. So he's the one that really organizes. He's very high on the venomous stuff. So he's always targeting venomous species. And then I'm like, I want to see whatever I can. So success rate, he will not do a trip unless there's a pretty good chance we're going to find what we're looking for. He's going to go the right time of year. If you're going to do these trips, you can't do a trip based on, well, I've got vacation on this week. If you go to Cabo in January, I'm pretty familiar with the area, you might see one snake. If you go in September, you might see 100 snakes. So he's really good at figuring that out. We're going to make sure that we have a really good chance of success. A month ago, I was in Oaxaca, and we did pretty good. We missed one target that we hit. There's a beaded lizard down there we all really wanted to see, and we missed that. But I'm not going to tell you, every trip we go, there's almost always a reason to go back. You're not going to see every single thing you want to see.
It wouldn't be as fun that way.
Yeah, exactly. If they were easy, then nobody would really want to do it. So I will say one trip I took, another one that I would kind of recommend if you can't, again, it's a little more expensive. Whenever you go and you're going with like a guided type of thing, it's going to be more expensive. A lot of the trips we go out by ourselves, depending on the country, depending on the issues. I went to Suriname. Outstanding trip. I had 3 targets on it. And if I would have made a list of 10, I found 10. I wanted to see an anaconda. I wanted to see the bilineatus. Bothriacus bilineatus is a boreal viper. And I wanted to see the green tree boa. And we saw, I think, 3 of the green tree boas, 2 of the bilineatus. And I got to get my first anaconda. It was a juvenile, but it's still anaconda. So I had never seen any of those. And then I found my own bushmaster. We saw, again, so many things. I just found everything. I really kind of feel like there's no reason for me to go back there now, which is a good thing, and also it was such a nice trip. But that was guided through a guy's name is Dick Locke. He's a Dutch guy that's got a place down there, and he's got several guys that take you out as kind of guiding you. But fantastic trip. Yeah.
Was your anaconda the yellow one or the green one?
It was green. And let me tell you, those things are fast. That thing nailed me. I'm taking a picture and that thing is, just trying to pose it or whatever. He got me a couple times. Pretty big teeth, too, for a little snake. But yeah.
I was wondering what kind of data you guys get from the snakes. You said that you bag them in like a pillowcase?
Yeah, so it depends. My data, I try to put everything on HerpMapper. I put the location, but I'm not typically weighing the snake. I'm not sexing the snake, doing those types of things. Occasionally, we will go out with actual biologists that want to do that kind of thing. I was in Georgia recently, and we met with she's from the country of Georgia, but she's going to school in St. Louis. But her PhD project is the vipers in Georgia. So we went out with her to help her catch vipers. And we went out, and it was Dinakai, Vipera dinakai, is a high elevation viper, and we got 13 for her. And so we bagged them all, and she was weighing them, measuring them, sexing them, taking scale clips, and doing all that kind of work. So we don't typically get involved with that. For us, it's photos, location, and species. That's most of it. We do want to find new species. We do have contacts in a lot of places that if we get something, we'll call them, hey, is this something that you think we should keep and let you take a look at or not? So in that case, we would do that. But yeah.
Okay, back home here in Indiana. Get your concrete shoes on, right? What are some of your targets here you haven't seen?
Yeah, so I've seen about everything in Indiana. Honestly, the hellbender, I was asked specifically, don't go looking for hellbenders, and I've honored that. I've seen them on doing a release. So I got to do a release of hellbenders. The only things I haven't seen, I've seen everything in Indiana, but not in Indiana. So I've not seen the crown snake, the tantilla in Indiana. I've seen it in southern states. I haven't seen the butlers in Indiana. I've seen it in Michigan. So there's nothing in Indiana that I haven't seen, but I haven't seen it all in Indiana. So, I've seen the green salamander in Indiana. I've seen, I don't think I've actually seen a siren in Indiana. So that's another one too. But I've trapped for them. I had it on my permit to trap. But I trapped in places that they weren't known from. I didn't go to Jasper Pulaski. I was trying to find them in new locations and was unsuccessful. So, yeah. But I think I've hit your almost. Any other? Yeah, a couple more minutes if anybody has anything else.
Indiana herpers here?
Yeah, I guess the big thing is if you, like I've been planning this trip, later this year I'm going to Bali, and just if you guys if you're going to do a trip and you've got questions and just anything you think I might be able to help with, shoot me a message, find me on Facebook, ask Jim, whatever the case is, I'll always try to help you. I've got a lot of contacts in a lot of places. Really, Indiana is about the only place I can really share locations because those are my locations for the most part, and places and things that I've found. A lot of the other places I have to ask the people before I give their spot, just as being kind to them. I had a guy ask me for a lizard location in Mexico, and I asked my friend, he's like, I worked really hard for that, I don't really want to share it, so I couldn't share it with the guy. But I think most people understand that. But yeah, just be careful, do your research. Mexico can be a scary place. I call myself pretty lucky. I have yet to have a gun pointed in my face in Mexico. And my friend's like, unbelievable. Because he's had it happen several times. So, just going on Mexico, years ago, I was so scared of Mexico and thought I would never go there. And I thought everybody's corrupt, police are corrupt, everybody's corrupt. Mexico is one of the most wonderful places in the world with the most wonderful people. Yes, bad things can happen, but it is way overblown in our media. We had some things, I remember in Puerto Vallarta, they said, oh my God, they set the Costco on fire, the entire Costco is burning. Well, one car in the parking lot was burning. Still not good, but everything here is way overblown. And I'll be honest with you, most of the places I go in Mexico, I feel much more safe than going into Chicago. There are great places. Cabo area is pretty safe. Not really a lot going on there. I was just in Oaxaca, amazing. Never felt unsafe whatsoever. A lot of the places we herped in Oaxaca, people aren't allowed to go, but we had contacts. I'd hate to say they're tribes, but indigenous people still live in those mountains. And so if you get permission to go there, they know who you are and everything, but they also keep all the cartel stuff out of their mountains. So they're very careful about who they let in. But because we had contacts, we got to go and herp those areas. And so it was wonderful. There's like no worries, no cartel worries or anything like that. So, yeah. But great place. So anything else you can think of? No? Anybody? All right, well, thank you so much. Yeah.